If your Social Security or SSI payment has ever shown up late, or worse, not shown up at all, you already know the specific kind of panic that creates. Because for millions of Americans, that monthly deposit is not just a nice bonus. It is the money that pays the rent, covers groceries, and keeps the lights on. So in this video, I am going to walk you through exactly why Social Security payments get delayed, what steps the Social Security Administration itself recommends you take, and most importantly, the one commonly overlooked form that trips up more beneficiaries than almost anything else and can quietly hold up your payment for weeks. Let's start with the basics, because before you panic, it helps to understand how the Social Security payment schedule actually works. Your payment date is not random. It is determined primarily by your date of birth for retirement, survivor, and disability benefits, with supplemental security income, commonly known as SSI, generally paid on the 1st of the month. If your birthday falls between the 1st and the 10th of the month, you are typically paid on the 2nd Wednesday. If it falls between the 11th and the 20th, you are paid on the 3rd Wednesday. And if it falls between the 21st and the end of the month, you are paid on the 4th Wednesday. On top of that baseline schedule, payment dates can shift earlier when the scheduled date lands on a weekend or a federal holiday, which is exactly the kind of thing that makes people think their check is missing when it has actually just arrived a day or two ahead of schedule. So the very first thing the Social Security Administration wants you to do if a payment does not show up when you expect it is simple, and it is something they are very clear about. Do not panic, and do not immediately assume something has gone wrong. Instead, check your bank account or contact your financial institution directly, because a huge number of so-called missing payments turn out to be ordinary bank processing delays that have nothing to do with the Social Security Administration at all. Next, confirm the payment date against the official SSA payment calendar, which is published on SSA.gov, because as I just mentioned, holidays and weekends shift dates around in ways that can be easy to overlook if you are just going from memory. After that, log into your personal My Social Security account at SSA.gov, which lets you review your payment status directly, see your benefit verification letter, check your earnings record, and in many cases spot exactly what is going on with your account without having to wait on hold with anyone. If you have gone through all of those steps and your payment still has not arrived, official guidance is to wait 3 business days before formally reporting it as missing, since payments sometimes take a short additional window to process even after the scheduled date. Once those 3 business days have passed, that is when it makes sense to contact the Social Security Administration directly at their national number, 1-800-772-1213, or to visit your local Social Security office in person, where a representative can look into your specific case, and if necessary, initiate what is called a payment trace to track down exactly what happened to your money. Now, here is where things get interesting, and where the actual title of this video comes in, because while bank delays and calendar confusion explain a lot of late payments, they do not explain all of them, and there is one very specific category of paperwork that causes real, sometimes lengthy delays or even a full suspension of benefits, and it catches people off guard again and again. And that is the redetermination and reporting paperwork the Social Security Administration periodically sends out, especially to people receiving supplemental security income. If you receive SSI, the Social Security Administration is required to periodically review your case to confirm you still meet the income, resource, and eligibility requirements for the program, a process called a redetermination. When it is time for your redetermination, the agency will mail you a form, and if you do not fill it out and return it by the deadline, your payments can be suspended or delayed until the paperwork is resolved, sometimes for weeks at a time while the agency works through processing backlogs. This is, in practice, one of the single most common and most overlooked reasons that otherwise reliable monthly SSI payments suddenly stop showing up, not because of some system error, not because of a bank mistake, but because a form that arrived in someone's mailbox weeks or months earlier got set aside, misplaced, or simply never returned. And this is not unique to SSI. Beneficiaries receiving retirement, survivor, or disability benefits face similar paperwork obligations depending on their situation. If you have direct deposit information that needs to be updated, whether because you switched banks, closed an account, or opened a new one, the Social Security Administration requires that update to happen through a specific direct deposit form. And until that form is submitted and processed, your payment can either bounce back to the agency or sit in limbo while the system tries to reconcile old and new account information. If you have moved and did not update your address on file, that can delay important notices, including notices tied to your benefit amount or eligibility status, which in turn can delay your actual payment if the agency is waiting on a response from you that never arrives because it was mailed to your old address. If someone else manages your benefits on your behalf, as what the Social Security Administration calls a representative payee, there are specific accounting forms that payee is required to file periodically to confirm the benefits are being used appropriately for your care. And if those forms are not filed on time, that can also result in a hold on payments until the paperwork catches up. And if you are a new applicant rather than an existing beneficiary, there is yet another layer to be aware of, because after you apply for benefits, the agency will mail you a letter within about 10 business days confirming your application and giving you your expected start date. And if you have not received that letter and you are still waiting on your very first payment, the delay may simply be that your application itself, or supporting documentation tied to it, has not been fully processed yet. Which is a very different situation from an existing beneficiary suddenly missing an established monthly payment. So what should you actually do to protect yourself from these kinds of delays before they ever happen? The single most useful step, according to the agency's own guidance, is creating and actively using your My Social Security account online, because that account gives you visibility into your benefit verification. Your payment history, your correspondence with the agency, and any pending action items on your file, all in one place, rather than discovering a problem only after a payment fails to show up. Beyond that, whenever the Social Security Administration sends you anything by mail, whether it is a redetermination packet, a request for updated income information, a notice about your representative payee status, or a request to verify your direct deposit information, the most important thing you can do is respond promptly and keep a copy of whatever you send back, because these are exactly the kinds of documents that, when ignored or delayed, quietly become the root cause of a suspended or delayed payment weeks down the line. It is also worth signing up for electronic notices rather than relying solely on paper mail, since electronic delivery can get you access to important documents, including annual cost of living adjustment letters and tax forms, weeks earlier than standard mail, giving you more time to catch and respond to anything that requires your attention before a deadline passes. If your address or banking information has changed recently, do not wait for a problem to surface. Proactively update that information with the Social Security Administration as soon as the change happens, either through your online account or by contacting the agency directly, since keeping your file current is by far the easiest way to avoid the entire category of delays tied to outdated information. It is also worth understanding some of the other, less common reasons a payment might be delayed or suspended entirely, because paperwork is not the only culprit. Benefits can be affected by changes in your personal circumstances, such as getting married or divorced, which can change eligibility or benefit amounts under certain programs. Benefits can also be suspended if a beneficiary is incarcerated for more than a certain length of time, generally more than one full calendar month, since federal law restricts Social Security payments during periods of imprisonment. None of these situations are common for the average beneficiary, but they are worth knowing about so that if something unusual happens in your life, you understand it could have downstream effects on your payment schedule, and you can proactively reach out to the agency rather than being caught by surprise. Now, let's talk about why this actually matters so much for so many people. Because Social Security is not a minor program on the margins of American life. It is one of the largest and most relied upon federal programs in the entire country, with tens of millions of Americans depending on retirement, survivor, disability, or SSI payments to cover essential monthly expenses like housing, groceries, prescriptions, and utility bills. When a payment is delayed, even by a few days, that is not just an inconvenience. For many people living paycheck to paycheck or check to check, it can mean a missed rent payment, an overdraft fee, or having to choose between filling a prescription and buying groceries that week. That is exactly why understanding the real, practical causes of delays, rather than just hoping nothing ever goes wrong, matters so much. Because the difference between a payment arriving on time and a payment being held up for weeks often comes down to something as simple and unglamorous as a single piece of paperwork that arrived in the mail months earlier and did not get filled out and returned before its deadline. If there is one single takeaway I want you to walk away from this video with, it is this. The biggest, most preventable cause of a delayed or suspended Social Security or SSI payment is not some mysterious system glitch. It is unanswered or overlooked correspondence from the agency itself, whether that is a redetermination form, a direct deposit update request, a representative payee accounting form, or a request to verify updated address or income information. The fix is not complicated, but it does require attention. Check your mail and your My Social Security account regularly. Respond to anything the agency sends you as soon as you reasonably can. Keep your direct deposit and address information current at all times. And if you ever do notice a payment has not arrived, follow the sequence the agency itself recommends. Check your bank, confirm the calendar, review your online account, wait the recommended 3 business days. And then contact the Social Security Administration directly if the issue has not resolved itself. I want to be upfront that this video is meant to give you general information based on publicly available Social Security Administration guidance, and it is not a substitute for speaking directly with the agency about your specific situation, since every beneficiary's circumstances are different, and only the Social Security Administration itself can tell you the precise status of your individual case. If you found this breakdown helpful, whether you are currently receiving benefits yourself or helping a parent, grandparent, or other loved one manage theirs, consider subscribing for more clear, practical breakdowns of exactly how federal benefit programs actually work. Because when it comes to money that pays for rent, groceries, and medication, understanding the fine print in advance is so much better than scrambling to figure it out after a payment has already failed to show up. And staying just a little bit ahead of the paperwork is very often the entire difference between a smooth, predictable payment schedule and a stressful, unexpected gap in the income you are counting on.